it was really fascinating to see how a feature you did on Justise Winslow then set up another story you did later in the year that both I think were pretty significantly, can we say critically acclaimed if we're already
Sure.
critics? Yeah, maybe the PBWA awards start up again, we could say it. But so the first piece was early in the season, you had this feature on Justise Winslow, and just everything he's gone through. I'll let you explain it, but it was a really interesting dive into one of the more, unique careers that we've seen, where he was someone that came into the draft as a kind of a player ahead of the curve almost. And I think it's almost proved to be that his play style was a bit ahead of the curve. And at least for me covering the Celtics, he was this figure that was always looming, because there was a rumor that Danny Ainge wanted to trade 4 first-round picks just to be able to draft him, which probably
Yeah.
worked out for the best. In his career, every single time it looks like things are coming together, injuries got in the way. But obviously,
Yeah.
as we learned from your story, it was more than just injuries.
Yeah. So Justice, he came to the Blazers 2 seasons ago at the trade deadline, kind of an afterthought in the Norman Powell, Robert Covington deal. And then he got a chance because the Blazers were tanking and they just kind of threw him out there and let him play. And there was two things. So one, I was like, wow, this guy can play. He's got some skills and it's really unique. I mean, he's a big guy who can handle, he can guard. He's a great passer. But then also there was just something about him. He was so happy. You could tell that he was getting a joy in playing and getting a chance. And I could just see something in him. And it really struck me how he maintained eye contact all the time, which is very rare, I think, for NBA players. They're just kind of talking to us lowly, meaty people, and it's saying, it's part of the job. But he had, like, there was an engagement there and connection. So I made a point, like, the next season, I wanted to dive deep on him and see what was going on. So at the first preseason game this year, I went up to him at his locker and I said, hey, I want to do a deep dive on you. And I think there's something there. I see a joy in you that is unique. And he's like, my story is a story that needs to be told. And I was like, okay. But as I have,
It's a nice reaction.
yeah,
Yeah,
really,
you don't get that very often in this business. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as I have embarked on more and more of these deep dives, like I need buy-in from my subject. And so I told him, okay, but this isn't going to be just a normal story. Like, I'm going to go deep. I want to talk to your mom, your family, your whole inner circle. And it's not going to be one interview. I'm going to come at you 4, 5, 6 times for an hour at a time. And he's like, I'm like, but I'm not going to do this unless I know that you're okay with that and that you're going to, be on board. He's like, yep, okay, I'll do it. So that started a long process. I was October 7th. The story didn't publish until late January, mid-January, I think. And I think by the end, he regretted kind of giving me that time, because there's, like our last 2 interviews, is like, oh my God, I got to talk to you again for 45 minutes, for an hour, and we're talking about some pretty sensitive stuff. But he really, it was really a passionate story for me to work on, because I was just coming out of a 3-month leave of absence from the Athletic because I was all screwed up in the head. I was super depressed. I'd lost 2 friends and my dog in the span of 3 weeks in March. And I was just questioning, like, what am I getting out of life? Why am I pouring so much of myself into work? I was just in a super negative about the industry and about everything. So anyways, I was really messed up and I'd been to some dark places. And so when he started talking about the dark places that he went to, I could kind of relate. I could very much relate. And so it was really therapeutic for me to listen to him talk about his story. And essentially his story is he was, national champion at Duke, got drafted 10th overall by the Heat, was kind of a much ballyhooed draft pick, and he became injured, and uh, he really struggled with his identity, living up to expectations, and just being sidelined. And during that, he had a bunch of personal stuff kind of bubble to the surface. His parents were divorced. His mom started dating. He started developing a relationship with his father, and his mom was unhappy with that. So there was just a lot of stuff in his personal life and his professional life that were kind of crumbling and very volatile. And he didn't handle it well. He medicated it with booze, women, and he just didn't treat people well. And he knew it, but he kept doing it. So, as he said, he fell into a place of darkness and made it comfortable. And so he kind of wallowed in his self-pity. And so the story was, and now he's in Portland and he's happy. He's enjoying playing basketball again. He's just had a kid. He has purpose. And so I wanted to kind of depict how he did that, the road from darkness to, being happy. And so it was a long process of getting him to kind of reveal that. And, first I talked to his brother, who he had a monumental fight with in the Bahamas, and got some time with his mom. And each time I would learn a little more and go back to him and say, okay, let's elaborate. Let's talk about what you were feeling on your mom's birthday. Why did you cry in front of her? And it was a long process. So this is from October 7th until January, just knocking off these interviews one by one. And but anyways, to dovetail into the other thing, one of the interesting aspects of that was his relationship with Coach Erik Spoelstra in Miami. The two clashed. They just, they banged heads, and Justice couldn't stand him when he played there, and Spoelstra was trying to kind of really instill in him the idea of service and of making things or understanding things are more than about yourself and being about the team. And so when he was hurt, he wanted Justice to be present with the team and cheering on his teammates and finding the joy in of experiencing group success and really truly being happy for your teammate. But that was a hard concept for Justice to kind of embrace, because he was so wrapped up in himself and, God, pity me, poor me, look at me, I can't get healthy, blah, blah, blah. So the interesting part for me was Spoelstra never gave up on him, even though they continued to clash, and Justice wasn't getting his kind of call to be of service to his teammates and to the team. One off season, he said, hey, meet me in Los Angeles, and we're going to go to Laird Hamilton's house. He's probably the best surfer ever in the world. And Laird Hamilton put Spo and Justise Winslow through a series of exercises. One of them included jumping into the deep end of the pool while holding dumbbell weights. And they sit there at the bottom of the pool and they look at each other. And it was a multi faceted, or there were multiple points that Laird wanted to instill in them. One was, don't panic, remain calm, but also draw strength off of your partner looking at them. Well, Spo didn't have much of a stomach for that. He let go of the weights early and went up. But anyways, that whole day, they went to the sauna, cold water showers. The whole day changed Justice, because he felt a high in life. Like the workout and the exercises they went through gave him such a high that he wanted to continue to achieve that. Instead of chasing the high in a club and with women, he was like, no, I want this kind of high. And so it really changed his direction and his outlook and his priorities. And all that was because Spo uh, saw something in him and never gave up on him, and wanted to get the best out of him and cared for him. And so that always stuck in the back of my mind. It's like, man, that is really unique for an NBA coach to do that in the off season.